All right. Algernon's October with the check-in on Hip Hop United. Our next guest, very excited to talk to, but we're excited to talk to all of our guests. But this one is a multifaceted Earth girl that's been using her superpowers to produce timeless sounds with some of the top artists in the world. She also cooks outside of the studio by providing delicious meals that nourish the mind, body, and soul of anyone she comes in contact with. It's been exciting watching her kind of step off the production sidelines and kind of take center stage to do Coming Home for the Team. And you know what? She's not sorry for the impact she continues to make on the culture. We got to welcome Molly Wilson to the check-in. How you doing?
Hey, what a great intro.
We're happy to have you here. How you doing? How you feeling? How was the drive in? How's it going for you on this beautiful, beautiful day?
Oh, man, I just feel so grateful and blessed. It's a beautiful day in the ATL. And thank you for having me.
Hey, how was your drive in? And, were you listening to anything? Like, we got to ask, as a producer of music, what's on your playlist?
I was actually listening to, kind of rehearsing, because I got a show tonight at City Winery. Is honoring my dear friend, the late Angie Stone, and so I was just kind of rehearsing for the show. So I was listening to one of her songs that I'm going to perform to honor her, and then I was listening to my Sidelines single that I just dropped a couple weeks ago, because I'll be performing that too.
Nice. Well, we're going to talk about Angie as well as your singles and so much more. So let's kind of jump into some different things. You've been staying busy as usual, making music. And as you just mentioned, you recently dropped, I think, 2 singles, I'm Not Sorry and Sidelines, and both kind of have their unique sound about them. I'm sure a lot of your industry peers very proud of you, as well as we are. Have you gotten any feedback about your music from them?
Yeah, it was funny, as a lot of my industry peers didn't even know I sang, because I kind of just, unless they knew me from before when I was touring and doing music. But yeah, they all are calling like, how you didn't tell us that you sang? This is amazing. We love the music. We love the vibe. So I'm happy that everybody's really enjoying it. And, sometimes you think because people love you, they're going to say, oh, I love your new stuff. But my friends they'd be like, oh, cool. And so, you know what I mean? So like, it's been fun because they really have been like, Molly, I'm vibing to it. So
that's interesting. Now, you've had the pleasure of being in a room with the highest levels of imagination, with some of the hardest artists out, from your Future, Drake, T.I., 2 Chainz, classic Whitney Houston, Lenny Kravitz, just to name a few. Now, I know you've got some great stories and great experiences you've had with them. So, tell us about some of the stories that you might have for some of those artists I mentioned and kind of how they inspired you.
I mean, obviously, Whitney was the late, great Whitney Houston was always an inspiration. I was the kid who went out to do all the talent shows, and shout out to WGCI in Chicago. I used to go and do their contests, and I'd always sing her songs. So when we became friends and friendly, it was just, I was done. I was like, okay, I'm good now, because we were, just having her in the studio. Funny thing is, the first year, I'd met her in the 90s when my mentor Clarence Avant had introduced me to her during the opening of the Motown Cafe, and I was just a kid back then, and so reuniting with her in my old studio space, it was amazing. I mean, like, just the stories that we shared and the time we shared, and now, just listening to her in my head, she used to say, you need to sing on them. You're too busy helping everybody else. So all my time with everybody has been pretty instrumental in, helping me to find my own sound.
Okay. Now let's say somebody like a Tip. I know you and T.I. are cool or whatever. What's the story you can share about you and Tip in the studio or just working together?
Well, it's funny because T.I. and I became really close when he was doing his Trouble Man record in my old space, and we shared a lot of time together, and so just watching him grow into the amazing businessman and family man that he is, he's always been super, super solid. I actually FaceTimed with him about a year and a half ago because Trey the Truth called me. I know you can't sing. What do you need? You need a feature from me? You need to call Tip. And Tip was like, whatever you need from me. Like, we didn't even know you sang. I got a bone to pick with you. Like, I had no idea. So, I think timing is everything. I've always had a lot of respect for T.I. He's a Libra like us.
Oh, yeah.
Very honest, good character person. So, it's nice to be able to have people like that that call me or FaceTime and say, yo, if you need anything. They're more like family. I mean, even Damani and Messiah, those are like, all their kids I love, and Tiny. A shout out to Tiny too. Got a beautiful family.
I agree. Now, there's been a lot of conversation in the market around top MCs in Atlanta. And since you've worked with so many hip hop icons, who are some of your top 2 or 3 in Atlanta?
You can't ask me that. Were we supposed to be talking about I'm Not Sorry sidelines? You're talking about who are my favorite. You putting me on the spot. If I name one, I can't name the other. You know what I mean? There's just so many. In Atlanta, who's my top?
Top 2 or 3. Just some of
You mean like who do I like to listen to?
Who
Or just as a human being?
Who you like to listen to, but also who do you think, when you have a ranking in your head or when you're thinking about MCs in your head, who do you kind of put in the top 2 or 3?
I mean, well,
I'll let you decide the criteria.
Oh no. Okay. Well, you're asking me a tricky question. I guess I would have to say, lyrically, Mickey Fax, Sahai, The Prince. You can't mess with Mickey when it comes to freestyling. Sahai's pen game is out of this world.
Absolutely.
When it comes to, superstars, you're talking about T.I. and those guys, Andre 3000. I can't not talk about Andre and Big Boy. They're both great. But, yeah, there's too many to name, so I won't. Ludacris, he's great too. It's too many. It's too much. It's like asking me as a chef, what's your favorite meal to make? It just depends on, I listen to all the guys.
Okay, fair enough. All right, now kind of coming back on something a little bit more somber. You mentioned Angie Stone a little bit earlier there, and I see that you and Angie were very close, and we're also talking about making some music together. Did you speak to her right before she passed?
Yeah, actually, what's just the craziest part was that we had been speaking over the last year. She was in my studio at one point shooting a documentary that we were doing for Showtime. We were both on about women in hip hop, and she called me after I dropped my first single and said, Molly, I'm so proud of you. I want you to come tour with me and the band. And literally that week before we had just dropped, the Thursday before she passed, we had just dropped a press release, and she had put, I don't know if you saw that with the quote. So she put a beautiful quote about us singing together and doing all these things. And, everything happens for a reason, but that was a gut punch, not just for me, but a lot of my very close friends are really close with her as well. So, it's tough. So tonight we're having a tribute at City Winey for her. And I believe it's to support the band and just the family and just share this time of love and fellowship with each other, everybody who loved her. She made such a huge impact. And, we were both there for one another. You hear about, I don't know, I feel like people like women like Angie Stone and Whitney in my life as mentors and friends just solidified why I took the long road and, seeing how they were financially taken advantage of by not just the industry, but other people. And people weren't really, when you knew the real, knew them as friends, I'm a protector and I'm a giver. And so, I guess being mentored and friends with them for so many years and hearing their true stories about financially where they were made me, really not want to be an artist, and that's why I took such a long hiatus.
Yeah.
You give so much to the world with your music, and then people, when you get sick or when you have a disease like Whitney had with the, drugs, people laugh at you and make South Park cartoons or whatever, and it just really made me sick to my stomach. It made me just want to help artists. But it was the love that brought me back singing again. So let's change it up before you have me over here in tears and in not a good place.
No, I totally understand. Yeah, I was going to say
I was going to take the glasses off.
I know, just one last thing there,
about.
just so we can look out for artists as well, because it's a deep topic for all of us. Any advice you would give artists to prevent them from being in a similar situation that Angie was in?
I'm just a business person. I have been since I was a kid. And so, if it's a lemonade stand, you know how much the lemons and the cups and the ice and everything cost, and when you sell this many, how much you get in back. And so people with art, we just want to share our voice. We just want to share our music. And I feel like God blesses you more if you take the long road and, you know, sometimes fine wine takes time. You want to jump in without learning the business. It's not good. So you should know how your money's collected before you start just throwing your art out.
I agree. I agree. Well, let's talk about the single there. You released a new single called "I'm Not Sorry."
Yep.
You also, of course, shared that Angie
Now I can
Stone.
take my glasses
There we
off.
go. You can
now
take
you
them
can't
off.
keep mentioning Angie and get me a tear.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But you did mention that Angie had added a quote about this particular song, and excited to see you kind of stepping into the spotlight after producing so many artists. So what kind of inspired this specific vibe, and what do you hope that your listeners take away from it?
I mean, it's been a 3.5 year journey making this music, and honestly, what inspired the vibe is inspired by each step that I took. And so the first step was my husband saying, before we were married, I can't see you singing around the house or the studio, and God gave you this gift and you're not using it. And so really, I'm like a bird. I say it all the time, if the sun is out and I'm happy, I'll sing. And so he brought me the sunshine, and that's why I'm singing. And so it's inspired by our love. I mean, nowadays, all you see people, especially soulful people like our communities, talking about is I'm independent, I could do it by myself, but who's got the guts to love out loud? And I think this song was a culmination of us just, writing together. We started writing together, and it was just pure. I mean, this is our art, and it's our love story in song. So it's inspired by our true love.
Got you. What, I was just kind of going to round third on that one and kind of talk about that. You got, married some time back to Mr. Eric Wilson, the banker. How are you?
The black banker.
I'm sorry. Let's be clear.
Let's be clear. I got a nice chocolate, beautiful husband.
Got
handsome.
You. All of these things.
Yes, honey.
How you enjoy married life, and how did that impact the way you view music?
It's interesting when you say married life. Married life, everybody's married life is a different life because you're two different people. So married life with Eric Donovan Wilson for me is wonderful. I mean, I'm blessed to have a husband who has, raised our 3 beautiful daughters and our son, and his late wife, shout out to Adra Wilson. She helped raise him too. They were together for 24 years. So when you talk about how married life is for me, I would be remiss not to, bring up Adra and the girls, because I'm a complex being. You know what I mean? Like, I have so many sides and facets to me, especially being a Libra like you. He's able to be patient with all my sides and support and really, a lot of relationships, one person is the star and the other one is just pushing them forward. And so my husband is a star in his own right, and the things that he's done in our community, I didn't know anything personal about him. I just knew he helped me save my old building tree when we were losing it. He helped Jeezy when Jeezy says, I own half Atlanta. He helped him buy all those deals. His teams were the teams that helped Slutty Vegan buy those buildings. So for me, married life is perfect for me, because I really do believe that God made us a match made in heaven. I'm a businesswoman. And so, to have a businessman behind me that I can fall back and just sing and just spend all my time honing my skills as an artist and sharing the songs that we're making is incredible. It's incredible. We get to travel the world and share this love and share this music and, try new restaurants. And, our children are they're so amazing and smart and God-fearing. And, it's like God, I sacrificed a lot of my life to pour into others. And so to be able to have a marriage that includes an entire family that's not my own is really important. And even my son, our son he's just such a good person. And we wouldn't be able to do any of the traveling for the last 3.5 years without our son and our oldest daughter Adra. So I want to shout Rhea. So I want to shout her out too.
That's what's up. Now, you've always been very private. You mentioned it earlier. You've been very private about your life. Why do you feel you were able to kind of love out loud as it relates to Harry?
God, Jesus. I mean, I have been private. When we first shared our first post, it went viral because nobody had ever seen me with anybody, and so. I had people saying, "Don't share your love. People are haters. You don't want anything." And we we listening to God. You know, we believe that God gave us something special, and you don't hide it under a bushel. And one of the verses that Deacon Wilson gave me when we first started dating was, "A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." And so it wouldn't be right for us not to share what God did for us in the music, because now the art is back inside me. And it never really left. It just, sometimes you see all the grossness in this business. It's all coming out now.
Yeah.
You see it all. And somebody like me, I didn't come from a soft world. I grew up in Chicago and tough Waukegan in North Chicago. So I got to share it. I got to share this love. I think if it could happen, Eric always says, if it could happen for us, it could happen for you too.
No, I agree. And you kind of mentioned some of the things going on in the industry, and I want to get your thoughts on something. Obviously, we mentioned Angie a little bit earlier. She was a very classy lady, very poised, very eclectic, just a very dope artist.
Soulful, and just a straight down, real down to earth. That's how come I'm a down to earth person. Sometimes
Absolutely.
all the things you see about me might make you think differently, but that's what I loved about her. Whitney too.
Yeah.
Most down.
Very much down to earth. And her music was obviously uplifting to anyone. But what are your thoughts on the current state of women in the industry? You mentioned a little bit earlier about some of the things that you're seeing and what's going on. We see a lot of songs and videos that don't always display ladies in the best light in terms of them being raunchy, lyrics, nudity, things like that. And obviously on the male side too, but we're talking about women specifically in this question. How do you feel about the state of women in music in general in terms of what's being presented right now?
It's funny because I'm the girl who you would see at Magic City, or you would see at Follies, because all the girls who danced were in my building. So there's no judgment on my side of where you are. None of us are perfect. We all have done things in our young age, or shown a little skin, or whatever we have done or whatever we're doing is who they are. And so especially in hip hop, like you asked me, how are women portrayed? It's obviously a lot of nudity, a lot of sexuality, and that's where those women are, and I can't fault them for being at that place in their life. But I think, as a woman who's had some power to help a lot of people, like women and men, I think that we need to even it out. You don't just have... And not saying they're fried chicken and fries, but you just don't have steak and lobster. Sometimes you want to have tacos and margaritas. And so for me, I'm what I don't know what they're doing, what they're all doing, whatever place they're in to share who they are. I can't judge. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just watching Megan Thee Stallion's documentary, and she's one of the most naked ones. I just loved it, and I loved her realness and her rawness and her story. And I think that, for me, I stand on the shoulders of women that are being erased from history. The Dinah Washingtons, the Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, Billie Holiday, Josephine Baker, Eartha Kitt, Lena Horne, all these beautiful Black women who a lot of our young women don't know about. And so for me, I don't really focus on who's doing what and they naked and they this and that, because I know who I am. And so I'm going to portray who I am in my music. And I hope that there is a balancing out, because when men run the industry, they're going to put out all the sex. That's what sells. It's a business. Yeah. And so when we talk about art and we talk about image, those are two different things. Right. And so for me, Madonna, Cher, all these girls, women from back in the day, more power to them all. But also you look at Chaka Khan. You wouldn't be no SZA if it wasn't no Chaka Khan. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be no, Ari Lennox if it wasn't no Diana Ross. And so for me, I don't focus on who's naked and why they've been exploiting women and men in this business. We all been exploited by the industry, so...
Fair enough. Good point. Good point. Your music kind of blends R&B, gospel, folk, jazz, blues. But in the past, you worked on a lot of R&B, soul, and pop. Now, will you be working with anyone, in terms of in the R&B genre, or kind of working on music down that leans more into that direction?
You mean for myself or for other people?
For yourself.
I have some R&B and soul influence. I mean, I think like now there's fans are not genre specific. They'll go from a Kendrick song to a, you know, Billie Eilish song to a, you know, SZA song. I mean, you see this artist named Ray, who I have a lot of respect for, out in London. She's kind of Amy Winehouse type. She opening up for SZA. So for me, you know, I come from mixed race, and you know, I've listened to everything. You know, my grandparents played gospel and blues. I grew up in church. You know, my dad was listening to, you know, the Commodores and Stevie Wonder. My mother was listening to Carly Simon, Barbra Streisand, the Beach Boys. So I'm an artist. Obviously, a lot of artists don't talk about, they want to act like I'm just me and I'm the star. But you can look at people and listen to their influences. And so for me, whatever God, we pray before each session, Lord, give us whatever you want to give us. And so if something comes out and it's R&B or soulish, or it comes out more folky, that's what the track or the guitar or the horn or whatever led us to create. I create my own melodies. Eric and I, you know, after the melody's created, we figure out what is this melody and what is this beat or what is this instrument telling us the song should be about, and then we wrap the story around it.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Now, your music is very personal. Obviously, you've mentioned many times that you are definitely an artist, a creative. How do you navigate sharing intimate emotions and experiences through your songs while still kind of maintaining vulnerability and authenticity with your audience?
I mean, I'm just me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think about it when I'm creating. I just, whatever comes out. And then afterwards, if it's too personal, Eric will be like, well, let's move it over in this direction.
Dial that
Or
back a
I'll
little
say,
bit.
okay, that's too much. You know, one of us will say, hey, let's kind of, I love writing with my husband because he gives a male perspective. And so as a black woman who grew up with a white mom, but all like 34 boy cousins, my perspective and the way that I move in this business was because I'm comfortable moving like how a black man moves, you know, but I'm not one. And so to be able to fall back into my husband's arms and be in just in business and in life and with this music and be soft, be more soft and be able to just be the woman that I have become, it's great because his lyrics are a strong man. And so us writing together makes it for everyone, man, woman. I always wanted to make records that if you came out of jail, you wouldn't be embarrassed to play it. And some female records were, brother ain't coming out of jail playing that, bumping it loud. But I wanted to make records that everybody, man, female, whatever, our people would want to listen to.
Gotcha. Okay. And what message do you hope listeners take away from your music, and how do you want to be remembered as an artist?
What I want them to take away from my music, I want them to feel good. These are feel good records. Like, we like to make songs we want to listen to that you could just put in the car and go for a long drive, or you can make love to, or, you know, so I want some babies to be made.
Hey!
In the right way, you know, with a God person that was supposed to be with you, not just because it made you feel that way. But I want people to I want them to be like, okay, this is real. This isn't made up. This isn't like, hey, we should write a song like this. It's my art. It's what we do. And when you say, the last question was, what do I want people to remember me?
How do you want to be remembered as an artist?
Oh boy, as an artist, I just, you know, as a human, as an artist, I want to be remembered as somebody who didn't have to, but I did. So I don't have to share this art. For a long time, I'm like, I'm not doing it. After they tear up my friends and tear them, they love to see you up in the Cinderella story. And that's where I am right now. Oh my God, she gave to everyone. And now it's her time. No one even knew she sang. And now, how does she find this grit it takes to get there? And so for me, what I hope is that the story that comes out in these love songs, that people could have a second chance and they can be born again and they can put the Lord first. And you know, you can, one of my students in the game, he's a rapper, he was like, Molly, you know what, just after seeing what happened with you and Eric and your music, you're doing it. You might have took the long road, but now you're doing it. You could have done it,
Yeah.
but to get the money and the fame, but then would you be happy? And so for me, I would I would want to kill. I would want people to be like, "Damn, she killed that demon for me." That it was too late, or, it's never too late. It's never too late. People, the connection that God gives you when He makes you be able to get on the mic and sing a song that touches somebody with musicians. I want them to be like she and her husband toured around the whole country for 3.5 years to work with artists. I could have made everybody come to my spot. But we paid the musicians that aren't used to getting paid. And so when you listen to my songs, it's not just me. There's amazing musicians and producers from Memphis to New Orleans to Chicago to LA to New York that are a part of this project. And y'all see me and you hear my voice, but what my husband has done by A&Ring and executive producing these records has given me the ability to make records like the old days, like in Motown days, and I'm very grateful for that, to be able to gift the world and our family with this art.
All right, nice. Another big influence on you as well as music, Billie Holiday. I see you were a headliner on stage out in Brooklyn. Tell me about that.
That is just a manifestation come to a total. That was God. I mean, like we said, we had just spoken to Angie. She's like, I just wrote a quote for you, and the quote was beautiful. I don't know if you have it to read it, but it was beautiful. I don't remember what she said, but it was like very Maya Angelou. And so we had talked Thursday, and then Friday, Eric and I decided to go see my 94-year-old grandmother in North Carolina and play her the records, because we like to share what God is doing, because her prayers are important to our journey. And so Friday we drove down, we got the call, and I'm like, look at God, we're about to be on tour with Angie. She just put this press release out, and now we get a call. Do we want to headline a series of beautiful women sang in the Billie Holiday iconic theater in Brooklyn, New York? It was needed, and it was a dream, because we didn't know Angie was going to pass on Saturday. And so we got that news on Friday, which was great. Then I was gut punched like everyone else on Saturday with the news, and, it gave me something to focus on. And so, major love to everyone. And I love all the venues and touring all over the world, but to be honored by your people for her 110th birthday, I mean, she's one. I've literally stand on the shoulders of Sarah Vaughan, Etta James, even, Coco Taylor and Mavis Staples, and all these women who people don't talk about, So I'm grateful to be able to stand on their shoulders and to shine a light on those who came before us, who, I say it again, like I'm walking through the front door. They had to walk through the back alley through puddles looking at the rats and sing for audiences who didn't want them to drink out of the same fountain. So for me, that's what I'm doing it for.
Gotcha. Well, as usual, Molly, you always bring artistry, wisdom, and great energy. And of course, you're just a fabulous human being all around. Please tell everybody where they can tap in and find out about all your projects, and where they can get into more things that are all Molly.
Okay, so mollywilson.com. Go online and share your email address, because we'll send you personal things. I like intimate and limited, kind of occasions. So we're doing a show in Chicago that's sold out. A lot of these are private events, but you can find me at IAM_Molly, MALI. My name is spelled Molly like the country, MALI, and Wilson. So you can find me on Instagram, Mrs. Molly Wilson on TikTok, and MALI Wilson on Facebook.
And the latest singles?
I'm Not Sorry and Sidelines. They're out everywhere.
All right. And the next project?
Oh my God, we have almost 100 songs. So we're just going to start dropping things, and sharing. I think it's more about touring and connecting with my audience right now. And so it's really important that if you listen to the music and you love it and you feel something special, that you reach out and let us know, because that's where we're going to be showing up for tours and things like that. We're not forcing anything. It's got to be natural and organic.
Always a wonderful conversation. Always a wonderful experience. Molly, the Earth Girl superhero. Make sure you're subscribing to Hip Hop United on the iHeart app. Hear more great interviews like this. Make sure you're tapping into all of the things that Molly is doing. Make sure when you do go on the iHeart app that you select Hip Hop United, put us in the presets, tell a friend to tell a friend. Everybody have a good one.